All right, Rebecca, we're back and talking about design again. And I think, you know me, I was a data architect, a systems architect. For me, everything is about the data design and the shape, and things are very quantifiable from that perspective. But design is a lot more about how you relate on like more of a personal level and how you present your yourself to your customer before you even say the first word to them.
Exactly.
So when I first started Contollo, the first thing I did was said, "Hey, I want to start a company. I need a logo." And literally had a guy design a logo at the campground that we were at. He went in like an hour, designed the logo, and then we've been trying to make a better logo for 8 years now, and we never have. So the logo that we have right now is that is from the guy that made it. Like the day I thought of the idea for Contollo, here's the name, gave me a logo like 3 hours later. But that didn't complete my brand.
Yes.
I didn't have a brand just because I had a logo, right? And it's changed colors like 6 times. It took us some time to really define what our design and brand strategy was. How would you give guidance to somebody when they were going and saying, okay, I wanted to build a company. How do I design the brand?
Well, about that, when most people hear the word branding or hear about branding, they immediately think about it, just the logo, just the logo. And they don't think about colors, typography, fonts, family, and even the visual identity system. And while those elements are, how can I say, are really important, branding goes much deeper than that. I mean, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned working in design as a graphic designer and in technology and a visual communication is that brands are not just to build through graphic elements alone. They're they're built through perception. Branding and a brand is really what people experience in a company. Is how they feel when they interact with it, with a company, or how when they interact with Contolo, for example, how much they trust it and what they can remember about it after the interaction.
Yeah, so a lot of what we do in marketing and with our go-to-market strategies is we have to tell a story.
Yes.
We have to tell a story, position ourselves as a hero that as not the hero, but as the guide that is there to support the hero as they're working to achieve their goals and reach their dreams and ambitions. And we don't do that with it has to be done strategically, right? Because we have to communicate to the to our customer what working with us is going to be like. But also, we want to help them not necessarily create their brand, but create their go to market strategy and engage with their customers.
Exactly.
So, the design, it's not just the logo and the types and all that stuff. A lot of that stuff is important ish, but the user experience of what working with us is like before they even talk to us is really, really important. It has to tell a story. And for me, when I go to a site, and the first thing I see is a pop-up, and then I close the pop-up, I get another pop-up, I close that one, and then I try to read about the site. Constantly, every time I touch something, there's a new pop-up. Every time they're just like trying to get my email address, trying to send me text messages before I even understand who they are. That to me leaves a negative taste. Who designed this user experience? Why is this here?
Yeah. Well, I think that one of the reasons that people often confuse or reduce branding to a logo, just a logo, is because the logo is actually the first thing that people see or the most visible element that people see in a company, and it's like the first thing created when a business starts working with a designer. But I think that a brand, and I believe that a brand is also exists in a way that a company communicates, the way it presents information, wants to communicate something, the tone it uses. And I think that overall that feeling it creates whenever someone interacts with it. I mean, just like you said it before, just right now, a lot of thing happens every day when someone visits a website. Some immediately, sometimes it feels modern, professionally, and trustworthy, but that's part of the branding because you know you want to trust a company, you know that you want to feel like you don't want to feel like outdated or disorganized, and you don't want to get behind all that.
Yeah. So I used to own a chain of computer stores here in the United States. I think you know about the chain that the computer stores we had in Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Here in the United States, I had the Computer Stop, and we're doing web design. This was back in the 2010, 2011, and we had a client come in for us to do their website, and they wanted a new logo. And their current logo said B&B Trophy. So you could see the logo, you could see exactly what they built. Trophy was big, B&B was small. And they said, okay, we bought B&B Trophies, not Trophy Shop. And Trophy Shop was big, so it said B&B Trophy Shop. And so they wanted B&B big. And then they said, we're Christian. I want to show that in my business identity. And so we want a big cross in there. I'm like, okay, I'm a Christian. I'm a faith-based entrepreneur. I love that. And so they showed me what they had designed, and it was B&B with a cross. And then underneath it in really small words said trophy. So I'm like, I think this is awful. I think that you are taking away your presentation of what you do. But you're the customer. Let me build this for you. And we made the website, we made the logo. They changed the sign on the front of the shop, and then they started getting calls. Do you do gravestones? Do you make memorials? Like, it looked like a gravestone shop now, and their customers were confused. They don't know. The customers no longer know who they are, because before they knew it was a trophy shop, and the B&B didn't matter because B&B doesn't communicate anything to your customer. So now it's B cross shop, and completely confused the customer, and they lost their brand identity because their brand identity started with the logo and went all the way through the rest of the brand, and they took that all away and confused. And Kia recently did this. They wanted to be more modern, and now one of the top search car terms is K4 car. Everybody started to figure out what that K4 car is they see driving around everywhere. They completely
Okay.
disassociated from,
I think
huh?
KN.
KN, that's right, KN. Yeah, what's a KN car? They completely broke their brand identity by making modifications to the logo, and it wasn't no longer a coherent part of their brand.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that what I believe is that people don't connect with products. They connect with with the way those products are represented or presented. I think that company has maybe, I can think that a company has an incredible solution to something, but the visual communication doesn't help people to understand the value of that. I mean, if you don't have a great communication with your customer, to your target customer, I mean, through design, you don't have anything. That's what I believe. And the messaging feels, maybe the messaging can feel confusing, the visuals can feel disconnected, and overall the experience becomes harder to follow, I think. And it's very common in technology, in technology companies.
So
Many.
I'm a follower of Donald Miller with building a story brand, and building a story brand cautions Donald Miller very clearly cautions against over design, as he says that design doesn't sell, content sells, and I think that's true to an extent. But what he does warn is make sure that the design supports the content, supports the voice and the brand, elevates the user experience, but doesn't get in the way. And
Yes.
I think that that's good guidance. For me, I'm an architect. I will over design something from a systems and backend perspective before I even fully understand what's out there. At least young Isaac used to do that. Now I know very much. Take something, communicate it. Our first 4 websites for Contollo, people would tell us, I don't know what you do. Like, I'm looking at your site and I don't understand what you do. And then we hired a VP of sales who came in and redesigned our website. And I showed it to some people, and they're like, "We don't know what you do. The copy is awful, like really confusing, arrogant sounding," which made sense based off of that former resource who's very happily no longer with us. The design has to tell the story,
Yes.
but without getting in the way of it, right?
Yeah, I think that that's the thing about branding, that a strong branding helps simplify complex things, simplify complexity. It
Yeah.
takes the information that maybe, I mean, otherwise feel overwhelming, or presents it in a way that's easier to understand and remember, and it's not just to simplify. I mean, simply about making something look modern. It's about helping people understand what you do without making them work for it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bookshelf. A well-designed bookshelf looks beautiful, but it's not about the shelf. It's about the content that it supports and presents, right? I
Yes.
remember the first time I put my book, The Broken Stone, on a bookshelf. I took a picture of the book on the bookshelf, but I wasn't taking a picture of the bookshelf. I was taking a picture of my book, the
Mhm.
content that was now being presented in a way that other people could consume it. It was very exciting for me. And that is the whole point of design in a brand strategy and a go-to-market.
Yes, absolutely.
We use a lot of infographics. I had to learn this the hard way. Things that make sense in my brain do not make sense in other people's brains. So I break that down into something typically ugly and hand drawn and hand it to you. And then you present that information in a way that, one, supports and elevates the brand, and two, is easy to digest and understand by the customers.
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, because the problem is not always the product. Instead, it's sometimes it's the way it's being presented, and
Hmm.
that's why I mean, when branding is treated as a strategic tool instead of a simple visual asset, everything begins to align more effectively.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, your article is being published, I believe, next week, and that is branding is more than a logo.
Yes.
And I believe that Valerie is going to do some complimentary content on how the brand voice and the voice of the community supports the total branding. For us, branding is very much part of how we set the our customer up to engage with the market. So we're kind of functional branders. We don't have a lot of brand theory, and we don't spend months like researching and analyzing a brand. I want to take some of our design and the logos and mock-ups and things and get in front of the customers as fast as possible and ensure that the reaction is what we're hoping for from those customers, and then improve from there. And kind of in a agile type go-to-market launch where founders are launching new companies, I think that makes a lot of sense. When should a founder pay attention to their brand, especially from a design perspective?
I mean, I already write a blog about that, and it should be right from the start.
Yep.
Don't leave it at the end. I mean, it's the worst mistake you can make.
We have a customer that's trying to rebrand right now, and they have a huge following, and they have a very large community, and now they have to change their brand because the names and the logos are overlapping somebody else who's been doing it a little longer. They didn't do the research in
Yes,
time.
they leave it at the end always.
Yeah, and that's a real problem because now they're an event company and their community is their company. Now they have to figure out how to rebrand without confusing their community.
Yes.
And that is a long process. I mean, even a simple thing like changing the color of your logo,
Just the colors. Yeah.
it confuses your customers. Especially we're in some dispute with Contollo because three other Contollos opened, and one of them has the same color logo, and we're going to protect our brand identity because our brand identity is us,
Yes, you already built.
and we have to stand up and protect that, right?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here, Becca.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.